Have you ever stopped to wonder what it truly takes to live a joyful, meaningful life as the years unfold? Picture reaching your 80s, even 100s, with a heart full of contentment and a life free from regrets. Imagine growing older not as a burden, but as a celebration of resilience, wisdom, and fulfillment. In this video, we unveil powerful insights from a centenarian and a leading geriatric psychiatry expert. Their stories and advice hold the keys to overcoming the challenges of aging and embracing every stage of life with joy and purpose. From unlocking the secrets of emotional well-being to discovering habits that promote vitality, this journey promises to transform how you see the future. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay connected with more inspiring content. Your support helps us bring these valuable lessons to life. So like, share, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Together, we can continue to explore ideas that inspire growth, happiness, and change. Now, let's dive in and begin this exciting exploration. The relentless pursuit of a long and healthy life often feels like a never-ending race. Everywhere we turn, there's advice: eat this, avoid that, exercise daily, schedule those checkups. The message is clear: if we don't stick to the rules, we risk a short, unhealthy existence. But is this constant vigilance truly the secret to a fulfilling life after 80? A leading expert in geriatric psychiatry, with over 3 decades of experience, offers a perspective that's as radical as it is liberating. He challenges us to question the value of endless self-restraint in the later stages of life. What if, after 80, the best prescription isn't more rules, but more freedom? For example, when we treat advice about eat clean, here's a list of daily tips to help you eat clean and maintain a healthy, balanced diet. Morning foundation. Wake up with a detox ritual. Add a pinch of sea salt or apple cider vinegar to your morning water for added minerals and digestive benefits. Power up with protein. Include a protein-rich food like Greek yogurt, chia pudding, or boiled eggs to stabilize blood sugar and keep you full longer. Smart food choices. Choose seasonal produce. Eat fruits and vegetables that are in season for better flavor, nutrition, and cost savings. Incorporate fermented foods. Add probiotic-rich foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, or plain kefir to support gut health. Portion control. Use smaller plates. This helps control portions and prevents overeating while still leaving you satisfied. Practice the 80% rule. Stop eating when you're about 80% full to prevent overindulgence. Meal prep and planning. Batch cook staples. Prepare basics like roasted vegetables, quinoa, or grilled chicken at the start of the week for easy mix and match meals. Include healthy fats. Add avocado, nuts, seeds, or olive oil to your meals for satiety and essential nutrients. Avoid common pitfalls. Cut out hidden sugars. Avoid foods labeled as low-fat or diet, as they often contain added sugars to compensate for flavor. Limit ultra-processed options. Even so-called healthy, processed snacks can have unnecessary additives. Stick to whole, single-ingredient foods whenever possible. Creative substitutions. Make smart swaps. Use lettuce leaves for wraps, cauliflower for rice, or zucchini noodles instead of pasta. Sweeten naturally. Replace refined sugars with honey, maple syrup, or mashed fruits in recipes. Mindful grocery shopping. Stick to the outer aisles. Most grocery stores place fresh produce, dairy, and proteins along the perimeter, avoiding the processed food traps in the middle aisles. Bring a list. Plan your meals in advance and shop with a purpose to avoid impulse buys. Snack smarter. DIY snacks. Make your own energy balls, trail mix, or roasted chickpeas to control the ingredients. Eat fiber-rich foods. Snack on fresh berries, carrots, or apples with skin for added fiber and fullness. Dining out. Be selective with restaurants. Choose places that offer fresh, whole food options, or modify menu items to fit your clean eating goals. Order sauces and dressings on the side. This allows you to control portions and avoid added sugars or unhealthy fats. Stay inspired. Experiment with herbs and spices. Replace salt or artificial seasonings with fresh herbs, turmeric, cumin, or paprika for flavor and health benefits. Try new recipes weekly. Rotate in new clean eating recipes to avoid monotony and keep meals exciting. Evening reflections. End with herbal tea. Wind down with chamomile or peppermint tea to support digestion and relaxation. Journal your meals. Track how you feel after eating clean to identify foods that work best for your body. Picture this: enjoying your favorite meals without guilt, sipping that glass of wine just because it brings you joy, or even lighting a cigarette if it's something you've always loved. It sounds counterintuitive, maybe even reckless, but this expert insists it's not. He believes that after a lifetime of discipline and sacrifice, it's time to prioritize happiness over restriction. Why? Because the stress of constantly striving for perfect health might be doing more harm than good. The weight of guilt over a single indulgence can rob us of joy, replacing moments of pleasure with relentless worry. And what's the point of living longer if those extra years are spent under a cloud of anxiety and deprivation? It's about balance and perspective. The expert's insights come from decades of working with elderly individuals, listening to their stories, and observing the emotional toll of a life lived under strict rules. He's seen how the obsession with avoiding illness can overshadow the simple joys that make life worth living. Even the inevitabilities of aging, like illnesses we often fear, are reframed in his philosophy. He suggests that instead of waging war against these natural processes, we could find peace in accepting them. Imagine the freedom that comes with embracing the fact that some things, like aging and its challenges, are beyond our control. This is a call to rethink our priorities. Do we want to live longer just to tick off another year? Or do we want those years to be rich with laughter, indulgence, and contentment? Aging doesn't have to be a battle. It can be a celebration of a life well lived, imperfections and all. Maybe it's time to ask ourselves, are we living for longevity, or for the joy of the present moment? It's a question worth pondering. If you've reached your 80s or are nearing that milestone, take a moment to reflect. This is your time, your opportunity to let go of unnecessary worries and live life on your terms. You've faced challenges, built memories, and contributed so much to the world. Now the spotlight belongs to you, and it's time to embrace a new chapter of freedom and fulfillment. Few lives embody the tension between ambition, success, and the quest for a deeper purpose as profoundly as that of Leo Tolstoy, the legendary Russian novelist. Renowned for masterpieces like War and Peace and Anna Karenina, Tolstoy achieved literary immortality, yet his later years were marked by a radical shift in values that illustrates the very idea of finding meaning beyond worldly success. The rise to fame. Born into a wealthy aristocratic family in 1828, Tolstoy seemed destined for greatness. His early years were marked by privilege, indulgence, and the pursuit of pleasure. He lived the life of a nobleman, hunting, gambling, and mingling with Russia's elite. But beneath the surface, a restlessness brewed. His desire to leave a mark on the world led him to literature. Tolstoy's literary genius became apparent with the publication of War and Peace in 1869. The epic novel, exploring themes of love, war, and destiny, cemented his status as one of the greatest writers of his time. He followed it with Anna Karenina, a tale of passion, betrayal, and societal expectation. The world admired his genius. He had wealth, prestige, and the admiration of intellectuals across the globe. Yet, despite his achievements, Tolstoy felt hollow. The crisis of meaning. By the time Tolstoy reached his 50s, he had everything a man could want: fame, fortune, and family. But inside, he was tormented. He fell into a deep existential crisis, plagued by the question, what is the meaning of life? His success seemed meaningless in the face of mortality. He wrote in his later work a confession. What will come of what I am doing today or shall do tomorrow? What will come of my whole life? Why should I live? Why wish for anything or do anything? Tolstoy searched for answers in philosophy, science, and religion, but nothing satisfied him. The more he pondered, the more disillusioned he became with his privileged life. His crisis deepened to the point where he contemplated suicide, believing that without a clear purpose, life was unbearable. A radical transformation. Then, something extraordinary happened. Tolstoy found solace not in the intellectual circles he once admired, but in the simple, humble faith of the Russian peasants. He turned away from his luxurious lifestyle and embraced a life of simplicity. He renounced his wealth, gave up his titles, and adopted the teachings of Jesus, not as they were preached by the church, but as a call to live humbly, non-violently, and truthfully. Tolstoy's transformation was radical. He dressed in peasant clothes, worked the land, and sought to live as one with nature. He became a moral and spiritual leader, advocating for pacifism, vegetarianism, and social justice. His later works, such as The Kingdom of God is Within You, inspired figures like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr. In his final years, Tolstoy's desire for simplicity clashed with his family, particularly his wife Sophia, who struggled with his rejection of their former life. The tension grew unbearable. At the age of 82, Tolstoy made a dramatic decision. He left home, seeking solitude and peace. He boarded a train into the Russian countryside, hoping to escape the trappings of his former life once and for all. Tolstoy's journey ended at a small railway station in Astapovo, where he fell gravely ill. Surrounded by strangers, the great writer, who once wielded unimaginable influence, lay dying in a modest station master's home. There were no grand gestures, no luxuries, just the quiet fading of a man who had spent his life searching for truth. Tolstoy's death in 1910 was a global event. His passing was mourned around the world, but what he left behind was more than just literary greatness. His story became a testament to the idea that true fulfillment lies not in wealth or fame, but in living according to one's deepest values. Tolstoy's journey from privilege and power to humility and simplicity teaches a profound lesson. Life's meaning is not found in external success, but in inner peace, purpose, and authenticity. He had everything the world could offer, yet it was in letting go of those very things that he found liberation. His life reminds us that the pursuit of more power, more success, more recognition, can never fill the void within. Instead, the final chapters of life offer an opportunity to embrace what truly matters: simplicity, connection, and the courage to live in harmony with one's convictions. Our uncle, Mike, had always been a man of discipline. For most of his life, he followed the rules society laid out: eat the right foods, avoid the bad habits, exercise religiously, and save for the future. He raised his children with the same mindset, teaching them that success came through sacrifice. But as he turned 80, the very foundation of his beliefs began to shift. For years, his calendar was a maze of doctor's appointments and checkups. His cupboards were stocked with bland, heart-healthy foods, and his evenings were spent calculating his blood pressure or monitoring his steps on a pedometer. The walls of his home were covered with framed photographs of the life he had lived. Smiling faces of his children, his late wife's joyful gaze, and scenes of his youth when he explored the world with unbridled curiosity. But in the quiet moments, Uncle Mike often felt a nagging sense of loss. Not of time, he had lived plenty of that, but of joy. He missed the richness of buttery biscuits fresh out of the oven, the taste of his favorite bourbon by a crackling fire, and the way his body used to sway effortlessly to old jazz records. He had given those pleasures up, convinced they were frivolous indulgences that could cost him years of his life. One winter evening, as the first snow of the season dusted his backyard, he sat alone by the window. A memory surfaced, one of his father, sitting on the same porch, carving wood while laughing about the follies of youth. His father had passed in his 70s, but had lived with vigor and freedom, never obsessing over what he should or shouldn't do. Uncle Mike realized something profound that night. His father had been happier because he had chosen to live, not just survive. The next morning, Uncle Mike decided to make a change. He canceled the follow-up appointment his doctor had insisted on but hadn't seemed urgent. Instead, he ventured into town to visit an old bakery he hadn't set foot in for decades. The familiar smell of fresh pastries wrapped around him like an old friend. He bought a box of warm croissants, sat at a small cafe table, and let himself savor every flaky bite. It was a small act, but it felt monumental. Over the following weeks, he began to let go of routines that brought him stress rather than comfort. The early morning walks that had felt more like a chore than a joy were replaced with quiet strolls through the park whenever the mood struck him. He allowed himself to watch the sunrise without the ticking clock of a fitness tracker reminding him of his pace. Uncle Mike started reconnecting with old friends. One evening, he invited them over for a game of cards, something they hadn't done in years. The table was filled with laughter, the kind that comes deep from the belly and makes the eyes water. Someone brought a bottle of whiskey, and though Mike hadn't touched alcohol in over a decade, he poured himself a small glass. It burned going down, but it brought warmth, not just to his throat but to his soul. His children noticed the shift in him. At first, they worried. "Dad, are you sure you're taking care of yourself?" They'd ask, their voices tinged with concern. He'd smile and assure them he was doing just fine. In truth, he was better than fine. He felt alive in a way he hadn't in years. One day, his granddaughter visited him unexpectedly. She found him in the garage, dusting off an old vinyl record player. He grinned as he placed a needle on the record and pulled her into a clumsy, twirling dance. "Grandpa, you're so light-hearted lately," she said, giggling. He paused for a moment, looking into her youthful, curious eyes. "Sweetheart," he said, "when you reach my age, you realize it's not the years you add to your life but the life you add to your years. I've spent enough time worrying about what might happen. Now, I'm just going to enjoy what is." From that point on, Uncle Mike became an inspiration to everyone around him. His life wasn't perfect, and he didn't pretend it was. But he had discovered a secret, the freedom that comes when you choose joy over fear. Whether he had 1 year left or 20, he decided those years would be filled with laughter, flavor, music, and love. And as the seasons passed, Uncle Mike became a symbol of what it meant to truly live. Not by holding onto life with a tight grip, but by embracing it with open arms. Think about it. After decades of effort, responsibility, and sacrifice, why continue living under constraints that may no longer serve you? The doctor's appointments, restrictive diets, and endless concerns about health, are they truly adding to your happiness? Or are they stealing moments that could be spent savoring the joys you've earned? Picture waking up without the weight of obligations or the pressure to conform to society's expectations. Imagine dedicating your days to the things that bring you joy, whether it's reconnecting with an old hobby, sharing laughter with loved ones, or simply soaking in the beauty of the present. At this stage, it's not about extending time but about enriching it. We live in an age where the concept of longevity is celebrated. Headlines talk about reaching 100 as if it's the ultimate goal. Yet for many, those extra years can feel overwhelming rather than inspiring. The pressure to stay healthy often leads to self-denial, sacrificing favorite meals, avoiding small indulgences, or pushing the body beyond its natural limits. But who says those sacrifices are necessary? Who says you can't fully enjoy life in your 80s, 90s, and beyond? Too often, people hold themselves back. They think about what's expected rather than what they truly desire. Some continue prioritizing the needs of others, afraid to reclaim time for themselves. Others stick to routines and treatments that bring little benefit, all in the hope of gaining a few extra years. But life isn't measured in quantity alone. It's the quality of those moments that defines true fulfillment. Now is the time to shift your perspective. This phase of life isn't about restrictions, it's about liberation. Let go of what doesn't bring you peace. Welcome the joys you've postponed for too long. Whether it's a favorite meal, a spontaneous adventure, or even a quiet moment of reflection, embrace what makes your heart feel full. This isn't the end of the journey, it's a new beginning. A time to reclaim the happiness you deserve, unburdened by guilt or obligation. These years can be the richest, most rewarding chapter of all. All it takes is the courage to choose yourself and live unapologetically. As we reach our 80s, what served us well in our 60s and 70s, stringent diets and intense workouts, may no longer be beneficial. In fact, pushing ourselves with the same demands can lead to unnecessary stress, which not only drains energy but can shorten our lifespan. At this stage, it's essential to realize that we've already lived a full and meaningful life. The hard work is behind us, and now it's time to focus on what truly brings us joy. This is a time to appreciate the little things and embrace a simpler, more peaceful way of living. In his clinical practice, Dr. William came to an important conclusion. The answers to health and well-being are not always found in medical textbooks. These books, while informative, cannot capture the complexity of individual experiences. Each person's life is like a unique, living textbook, shaped by personal stories, struggles, and victories. We are all the central characters of our own narratives. Throughout life, challenges and misfortunes can affect both our physical and mental health. But Dr. William argues that once we reach 80, this phase should no longer be about imposing more restrictions or adding burdens. Instead, it should be a time to embark on a personal journey of fulfillment. After 80, it's not just about surviving, it's about finding what makes us thrive. Another compelling perspective on aging highlights the importance of purpose and engagement in maintaining both mental and physical health. Research from the National Institute on Aging suggests that having a sense of purpose, whether through volunteering, pursuing hobbies, or engaging in meaningful activities, can significantly enhance longevity and overall well-being. Older adults who remain active and engaged in activities they find fulfilling often report higher levels of happiness and life satisfaction. This sense of purpose has been linked to lower risks of cognitive decline and a reduced likelihood of developing chronic conditions such as heart disease and depression. One notable study conducted by Patricia Boyle at the Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center found that older adults with a strong sense of purpose were 2.4 times more likely to avoid developing Alzheimer's disease than those without it. This underscores the idea that staying mentally engaged and emotionally invested in life's pursuits plays a crucial role in maintaining cognitive health. Purpose-driven individuals tend to experience lower levels of stress and better immune function, which further supports their overall health. Additionally, intergenerational relationships offer another layer of benefit, enhancing emotional well-being and providing older adults with a renewed sense of relevance and vitality. Programs like Experience Corps, which pair older adults with younger students for tutoring and mentorship, have shown that such interactions not only benefit the children but also improve the mental health and cognitive function of the seniors involved. These interactions foster a sense of accomplishment and joy, which can buffer against the negative effects of aging. Overall, these findings illustrate that living with purpose, staying engaged, and fostering meaningful connections can be as vital to health and longevity as traditional health practices. By focusing on activities that bring joy and fulfillment, older adults can experience greater emotional resilience, improved physical health, and a richer, more satisfying life. This chapter of life invites us to let go of excessive worries. It's time to stop depriving ourselves of the pleasures we love. Whether it's indulging in our favorite foods, relaxing without guilt, or savoring moments with family and friends, the key to living well in our later years lies in embracing what makes us happy. We should aim to live in a way that reflects our true selves, finding peace in the present and savoring every moment of this precious time. The message is profound. After decades of striving, your 80s signal a shift. It's no longer about meeting expectations or chasing ambitions. It's about living for your own happiness. This is the moment to embrace life on your terms, free from the burdens that once dictated your path. The world's demands have faded. What remains is your story, ready to be written anew. Over 2,000 years ago, Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China, held unparalleled power. His influence stretched across a vast empire. His wealth was beyond measure. Yet, there was one thing he could not control: time. Obsessed with immortality, he scoured the earth for elixirs to conquer death. His quest led him to a potion laced with mercury, meant to grant eternal life. Instead, it delivered an ironic fate. The emperor who ruled everything was brought down by the very elixir he hoped would make him eternal. His story is a reminder that no one escapes the passage of time, not even those who rule empires. Throughout history, this truth has echoed. Steve Jobs, who revolutionized technology and reshaped culture, succumbed to death despite his brilliance. Kim Il-sung, who reigned over North Korea with absolute control, could not escape mortality. Even Lee Kuan-hee, the mastermind behind Samsung's global empire, spent his final years bedridden, his influence diminished by time. Power, wealth, genius. None can halt the inevitable. But here's the question: who truly understands life's meaning? Those who spend their final years longing for more time? Or those who find peace in life's final chapters? Among the elderly who radiate contentment, a quiet wisdom emerges. Two lessons often rise to the surface. The first is the surprising realization that less can be more when it comes to medical care. By the time most reach their mid-80s, their bodies bear the marks of time, silent illnesses, occasional discomfort. Yet, many who age gracefully resist the urge to rely heavily on medication. They understand that not every ache demands a pill, not every condition needs treatment. Hospitals can offer comfort, but they can also rob life of its simplicity. These individuals teach us that sometimes, the best medicine is to let the body be. Life's final chapter is not about conquering death. It's about embracing life. It's about finding joy in the quiet moments, peace in the ordinary. It's about letting go of what no longer serves you and savoring what remains. The real triumph is not in living forever, but in living fully, especially when the world grows still.